Hi, everybody. Hey. I have exactly 50 minutes to turn that into a standing ovation. So I will do my best. This is a wonderful night by any measure for me and my family surrounded tonight. This has been 5 years really in the making, and I'm so pleased and blessed that you are all here. I wrote my dad a letter a while back in October of 2000. And that kind of evolved into, unfortunately, my eulogy for him, and then into this book. So I am tremendously excited about tonight, because I can't really even wait to find out what I'm going to say. I really am just going to let the slides go with it. How many of you have ever, just by a show of hands, have ever seen one of my workshops? Have been at any of my workshops? Okay. And how many of you have never been to one of my workshops? Okay. And how many of you aren't quite sure? I look familiar a little bit somehow. So, if you are not your diagnosis, there are a list of questions that come up after that statement. So we're going to answer them over the next 50 minutes. The answer, truly, what you're going to learn tonight is you are your evolving filter. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you. That is a very active phrase. Evolving, growing, changing, adapting, and filter. If somebody could get me one of the bottled waters, that would be fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that. Your evolving filter. That is an active phrase. There can be times, and I'll walk right through my beam, there can be times where two people can witness the same exact occurrence and describe to the police two completely different scenarios of what happened. One said a man did it. One said a female did it. One said it was tall. One's short. One blonde. There are even different times during your day that if two very similar things happen to you, your body would interpret it differently. Different times during, if you have alcohol in your body or medication in your body, or if you are sleep deprived, or if you are under a stressful situation, your filter is continually picking up information from the environment, and its job is to create an appropriate response. If you have the tools and the skills and the mindset to create that appropriate response. So one of the very first things that I shared with my father when he came home with his cancer diagnosis, and he said, I don't want to be a cancer patient. I said to him, Dad, you are not your diagnosis. And I just read a book by this guy named Stephen Covey. So I'm going to draw this out for you. It's pretty simple. Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. How many of you have ever read that book? Right? How many of you are not quite sure? You've heard of it? So Stephen Covey draws 2 circles. The first circle around you is that one, and the second one is that. Stephen Covey says that we are only alive and awake and available on this planet 168 hours a week. And that time is finite. It is limited. And those people who spend their time, energy, resources, focus, money, effort in those things that they actually have influence over in their circle of influence are the most highly achieving, loving, peaceful, giving, serving people on the planet. And those people who spend all of their time, energy, focus, resources, money in their circle of concern, those things that they're concerned about but have no influence over, those people are institutionalized. Or should be. Every time I see this drawing, I think of one of my favorite movies, The Matrix, and one of my favorite scenes. Neo, the neophyte, the student, is being taught how to engage in karate by the master. Anybody remember the master's name? Morpheus, the master of change, right? And Morpheus is kicking the snot out of Neo, right? And Neo is down and out and tired. And Neo, in a wise Alec attitude, looks up at Morpheus and says this: "Do you mean that if I really learn what you're teaching me, I'll be able to dodge bullets?" And Morpheus says, "No. If you really learn what I'm teaching you, you're not going to have to dodge bullets." So, anybody see the movie? Halfway through the movie, they're firing thousands of bullets at him, right? And what's he doing? Tai Chi. Slow motion. Bullets are going by him. What does he do by the end of the movie? What circle are the bullets really in? Your circle of concern, right? There are only three things that we're going to focus on tonight. Anybody could focus on are things you think, things you say, and things you do. And when we do our stress reduction workshops, we always talk about this. That when you are stressed, it's most usually about what other people thought, said, or did that is getting you stressed. Yes or yes? Yeah. Right? It's never about what you thought, said, or did that's getting you stressed. It's always about what other people have said, did, or thought. Correct? Good. So what other people say, do, and think, do you have any influence over that? Do you have any influence over what other people say, do, or think? No, of course not. No. Only what you do. So you are your evolving filter. So I wrote a letter to my dad. And I wanted to share with him that after he sent me out into the world, I had learned a few lessons beyond what he had taught me, and I wanted to share this with him. And this comes from Carl Jung. And Jung says this: the lowest maturity level, the lack of maturity level, is when a person is walking on their journey and their filter, their thing that catches all the stuff that's coming from the world, is described as the athlete. And the athlete spends all of his or her time, energy, money, resources, and worry about what other people think of them. What I call the junior high school mentality, right? The junior high school mentality is the 13-year-old in the hallway. I wonder why he didn't ask me to the dance. I wonder why they're teasing me about my shoes. I wonder, I'm always in a state of worry. Do you know anybody like that? That aren't in junior high school? Right. Okay. The warrior is the next level of evolution, the next step in this filter. And the warrior spends all of his or her time, energy, money, resources, and worry in this question: what's in it for me? How am I going to get mine? On the flyer that you may have seen for this event, it said we're going to celebrate wellness, abundance, and empowerment. The warrior sees no abundance in this world. The warrior sees a pie that is so big, and if somebody else is getting some, the warrior comes to the false realization that, well, it's just going to be less for me. So we're going to have to battle over this little piece of the pie. If you identify yourself by what other people think of you, or you identify yourself by what you have, and that is your judge, your self-image, you are destined to, let's just call it lack of joy in your life. Before we make the next jump, we're going to do an exercise together. Because what I noticed in those early days after the diagnosis is my dad's posture changed. He was a giant, but he said, I don't want to be a cancer patient. So for those of you who are currently engaged in a chiropractic experience, you may have seen this one before. If you haven't, this will enhance your chiropractic experience. So everybody stand up for me. Great. You're going to have to kind of move into the aisle because you're going to need to spread out for this one. You're going to need to spread out for it. Okay. Great. You're going to need to spread out a little bit. This could be done in any country, in any setting, in any environment, and there is something consistent in the human experience that if I ask you, and I'll do it with you, please show me the posture of anger. Just do that posture for me. Right? Show me the posture of worry. Right? And the posture of disappointment. Right? We're getting closer or further away from the fetal position. Right? Closer. You can stand up straighter now. When the world acts upon you and your whole walk in this life is what other people are saying, doing, or thinking, or what I can accumulate at the moment, but I'm worried about it because what do we know about all material things? They rust, right? BMWs rust just like Yugos. They all rust, and they all end up in the same place. So if you are in a constant state of worry and the world is acting upon you, you will assume over time this posture. Those of you who've looked at your own x-rays, is that a good posture or a bad posture? Right? So now show me the posture of joy, right? And peace, right? So we're going to do that together. You ready? You're going to need to spread out a little bit because we're going to go like this, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start with your hands in front of you like this. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. Blow out and pull straight back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until you're all out of breath. And then drop them. Good. You're going to go up at about 10 degrees. Okay? So take a breath in. Blow out. And squeeze your shoulder blades together. Great. And rest. Fix your underwear and sit back down. Okay. Okay. All righty. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let me click off of that. Let me click off of this. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Good. Okay. I got so excited by that when I hit the wrong button. Okay. This is where we make the jump. Away from the ego, which has been described as edging God out. The ego. The ego sees him or herself as a sunbeam and thinks it's the sun. The ego sees him or herself as a droplet of water and claims to be the ocean. That's the ego. The statesman. The statesman or stateswoman goes through their journey 168 hours a week, and by the way, we're asleep for 80 of those, and has all of his or her time, energy, money, resources, and focus and worry on how can I serve? How can I serve? That is the mantra of the statesperson. My dad was already here by the time I showed up. How could I serve? And these were the lessons that he taught me. You are not an accident. Because my dad was always told he was one. Right? So, you are not an accident. If you are not an accident, you are by definition on purpose. When you are on purpose, well, first of all, ask yourself this question. My purpose in this life is to, so you don't have to answer out loud. But you should spend time trying to figure out what the rest of that sentence is. Wayne Dyer, who is quoted in the book a lot, talks about thinking from the end. So, contemplate yourself as already surrounded by the conditions that you wish to create. I'll say that again. Think from the end, contemplate yourself as already surrounded by the conditions that you wish to create. Stephen Covey says begin with the what in mind. Does anybody know? Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. If you do that, you are, by definition, at cause, as opposed to at effect. And you are not an accident. I'll read this one. Some of these slides, did I do it again? I'm sorry.